Whoa. Okay. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I just got an alert.
This is either going to be true or very sarcastic.
Kyle McCord just threw another interception.
Stop
that is wild.
Cut the podcast. We're done stuff. Here.
It is the Rivalry Podcast. Jace, JP,
what up?
Your garbage-free college football podcast focused on the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry. We'll jump right in with Wheel Route thanks to the J Company. Fall in love with your home all over again at the JAEcompany.com. Spin that wheel. Man, what a weekend of college football. Lot of shakeup in the top 10.
Some of the games I thought would be close were a little disappointing.
Really weren't. Top 3.
All right.
Heisman favorites, which, by the way, if you're not watching on YouTube, at Rival Pod on YouTube and across social media. Top 3 Heisman favorites. I feel like this is pretty easy.
All right.
I think this is pretty easy. I believe Michael Penix Jr. may now be the betting favorite.
Yeah.
Followed closely by JJ McCarthy. And I would throw in, Jordan Travis has to be in there.
Okay.
But this doesn't feel like there's a lot of subjectivity to this.
It is such a quarterback driven award that it's unfair because I would agree with those 3. I think Marvin Harrison absolutely deserves to be in. That's what I'm saying. It is a quarterback driven award, so he's never going to. But the dude has put up like 160 plus yards in like numerous games this year. He almost is at 1,000 yards already. The dude is clearly one of the best players in the entire nation.
I don't disagree with that.
He's not going to get it and that to me is what the Heisman is. It's who is the best player in the nation. And that's just not.
I don't think he's the best player in the country, though. I think he's good. And I think he may get an invite.
See, I would be fine with that. I don't think he'll win it. I'm just saying he deserves to be in the conversation.
It's going to be McCarthy or Penix. And it just
I don't see, unless Penix goes out there and has another massive turnover game like he did, was it last week, where he had like 3 or 4 turnovers? Unless he does something like that, it's his to lose. McCarthy.
I think so, but I'll say this. Washington has looked real shaky the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And again, it's not a team award, but I even look at a guy like Caleb.
They still consider that though.
Yeah. Cause look at Caleb Williams. His numbers have still been pretty good, but he's
essentially
out of the running though because of what USC is doing right now.
They barely scraped by this past weekend.
Washington against Stanford had a really hard time.
Well, Stanford,
and that's where I think a performance by McCarthy against Ohio State at the end of the year.
Oh yeah,
could seal it for him. So I don't know if I'd say it's. I know you're going to
lose. I know you're going to disagree with this.
It's going to be neck and neck. Though.
You're going to disagree with this wholeheartedly, and I just don't even care because your opinion's trash.
So probably.
100% you look at how they perform or team wins when it comes to that. So I think genuinely, if Ohio State goes out last year and beats Michigan that last game, CJ Stroud is a Heisman winner.
I think you have an argument. I don't know if I'd say he wins it, but I think you have an argument.
But I think everybody knew going into that night he wasn't going to because he lost.
Correct.
And so that's more my point is had he won, it wouldn't have been as unanimous as Caleb Williams like it was.
No.
And so that's my point. So I'll agree. I think my top 3
how you perform in big games matters.
My top 3 are probably the exact same, but I do think Jordan Travis should be taken out for Marvin Harrison just because I think he's one of the best. And I would almost, if Brock Bowers was super healthy, I would almost say he deserves in the conversation as well. So, but it's a quarterback award. That's what's going to happen. It's the same thing.
Well, and even last year, even though it's a quarterback award, look at a couple years ago, Aiden Hutchinson getting in there. I would, obviously I'm biased, but I would say that it's so hard to win as a defensive player that to get there probably means you deserved it.
Anything outside of a quarterback because they're the one with the ball in their hands the most.
But even so, if Blake Corum doesn't get hurt against Illinois, Corum probably wins.
But look at the numbers dude was putting up. It took what Marvin Harrison is doing, where he's going out and having 160-something, 12 reception games, and I think constantly.
And this is the last thing I'd say on this is that's one of the reasons why right now if I were a betting man, I'd put money on McCarthy. McCarthy is in this conversation. He's playing half a game. Like Penix is in there all the way through because Washington has struggled the last few weeks. McCarthy's doing this, and he's having a hot dog on the sidelines at halftime. And that's pretty impressive. Now, that's going to have to continue as you hit this November slate of games against better competition.
Yeah, the meat of your guys' schedule's coming up.
But that very much may mean that McCarthy, I mean, if McCarthy's playing full games and still putting up numbers, that may be enough to seal it for him.
I mean, to me, it's going to be between those two at the end of the day. So
two good quarterbacks at the end of the day. Yeah.
Going into Ohio State, this was a game.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, enough said. We can move on, actually.
No. I don't think so.
I want to start off by saying something because I got into a little bit of an argument over the weekend. I fell into the bait, and I got into a Facebook argument with a guy who was,
which wasn't me this time, to be clear.
Well, it usually is. In your defense, it normally is. But it was all these just outrageous Buckeye fans that just need to take a chill pill and literally just go watch something else on a Saturday. Because I will be the first person, and I feel like I've been very fair of Kyle McCord this year. I don't think I've overhyped him to an extent. I've pointed out his flaws, and I've said he will never be CJ, he'll never be Fields, he'll never be Dwayne Haskins, won't even be JT Barrett, who I didn't think was an amazing passer.
So tell me what the argument was.
People saying that we would be better off right now with Lincoln Kienholz being behind center.
False.
False that would on me?
No. False that you would be better off with Lincoln.
Yes, agree. 100% agree. But there is some, because of the way Kyle McCord played, there are just like horse blinders on these people. And this is the only time I'm going to talk trash about my own fan base. Just shut up. I'm tired. I'm tired of dealing with it, Buckeye fans. Kyle McCord.
Can we make that a reel? Can that be on Instagram?
Kyle McCord
please?
is not a great quarterback. He's just not.
Can we also get that one? Good. Go on. Sorry.
But is he still really good? Sure.
No.
Sure. I would say so. Did he have a bad game? Absolutely. There were things that we've pointed out. We saw it against Maryland. We saw it against Notre Dame. We've seen flashes of it where he's held on to the ball too long in the pocket.
Well, he should have taken a sack
against
Penn State. He got very fortunate.
100%. And Notre Dame as well, where he does some risky throws. There are some times that he's on the money. This was the first game. And I feel like every big team goes through this game at some point in their season. It's just a matter of when it happens. For Michigan, I would say it was Bowling Green. JJ goes out there and he threw, 3 picks that game? You guys had 4 or 5 turnovers as a team. I'm not saying it's the same, but
it's not
if you looked at your schedule, and you pointed back to a game that was your sloppiest game, that is the one that every single person circles.
It is, but here's the difference. The difference, though, and
Bowling Green is abysmal, and Wisconsin was 5-2, and it was a night game at Camp Randall. You're correct.
Do not try and paint Wisconsin as a good football
I'm not painting them as a good football team, but they are.
Here's the difference. McCarthy, you can look at that game and go, that was a sloppy game for McCarthy. But he's got this full season and really almost 2 full seasons now of body of work and go, yeah, that's that's unlike him. He doesn't have games like that. McCord, this was not surprising. He's not had super sloppy games, but for exactly like you said, he's been fortunate. He holds on the ball too long. There's
mental mistakes.
He's either throwing a dime or it's 10 feet over a guy's head.
We saw it against Maryland.
It's very, you've made fun of me for the Jekyll and Hyde joke.
Stop. We're not making that a thing.
But it is. It's that very inconsistent. I don't know what I'm going to get
I feel like
this
this
drive.
is the first time he's had instances. It's not been full games. He's had instances where he has made dumb mental errors like that.
But nobody's shocked by this.
This was the first game that kind of played out where he was on the unfortunate end of those, where he had 2 interceptions, a fumble. It just wasn't solid.
And even on top of that, 3 turnovers, but also 2 grounding penalties that kept Wisconsin in the game longer because if he doesn't take those, there's a couple opportunities where Ohio State goes up by 2 scores.
Yeah.
And the game is essentially over.
You saw that against Penn State, but my argument with this guy was you don't win the games that Ohio State has won when you've been injury ridden. Like people forget you didn't have Ibuka. You just got Henderson back, who had a monster game. Still not on board with him yet because that's what I want to see consistently is the way he ran.
Looked good on
he
Saturday
looked
night.
the way that he should. And that I think he has the talent for. But last week against Penn State, you don't have Denzel Burke. You don't have Henderson. You didn't even have Chip Trainum for a majority of the game. You're without Ibuka. So you're going out there, and sure, they still have a loaded wide receiver core with Carnell Tate, and you still have Julian Fleming, who's serviceable, and you have the greatest college receiver right now in Marvin Harrison. But you don't win those games with a bad quarterback. You just don't. The defense this year has been great. Don't get me wrong. And they're going to keep you in games, but you don't win it with a bad quarterback play. And so my argument with this guy was, I'm not going to be a Kyle McCord defendant. I'm not going to be sitting here saying he needs to be the full-time starter, blah, blah, blah. I genuinely don't think we have a better option. And the grit that he has shown in the Notre Dame game, in the Penn State game, are enough for me to trust him going forward.
Well, now, I think you nailed it, though. There's not another option.
Lincoln, I think, and this was what I ultimately said, is Lincoln has the higher ceiling.
Agreed.
It's the same thing that we had a discussion with. You're going to disagree, but you're going to have to just hear me out. J.J. McCarthy is a Heisman potential candidate. I said it years ago.
Yeah.
And I wasn't wrong. Cade McNamara, to me, it's kind of the same situation. Lincoln, to me, I don't know if I would say he has Heisman written all over him for the future. But the potential there is higher than what McCord is at. With McCord, you know what you're getting. It's the same thing I said back in the day with McNamara, is with McNamara, you know what you're getting out of him, but you have this younger guy that you think the ceiling could be higher. I just don't think the way that McCord has been able to play, he's been able to get out wins against a top defense in Penn State, where he missed some throws, but if he makes those, it's a bigger lead than what it ended up being.
Yeah, if he makes throws, of course, that's the whole name of the game.
Notre Dame going in, you don't win that in the final 2 minutes. He had some I need to close my eyes plays on that drive, but he got the job done. I think the rest of the season, you've got to be able to trust him, at least going forward. I don't think I've seen Devin Brown play, and this isn't a knock on the kid, but man, if I had to watch him, if something happened with McCord and I had to watch a full season of Devin Brown, I would cry real tears every single Saturday at noon. So if you're telling me that all the coaches, all the media, all these people that get paid a gross amount of money that would make me vomit if I saw it, to make decisions are seriously looking at Lincoln and going, yeah, he's definitely better than this guy, which to me, the gap between McCord and Devin Brown is so wide that I don't even know how people were trying to say it was a quarterback battle. Yeah. And you're telling me that this guy is third in line? That's not me trying to say Lincoln's going to be bad. I really do think they know that he's not better than Kyle right now, but he will be in the future. So they're not going to waste a year of eligibility.
All that I want, and I think you're not where I want you to be, but you're closer than some folks, which is basically most of this podcast. What I need to see from folks is for people to be serious about what they have in McCord. You have a good quarterback. He's not great.
No, I have seen,
and I think you're there. You think he's better than I believe he is. Because
I don't know. I think you think he is very bad. I think to me,
I don't think he's very bad.
I think to me he is.
I want people to be serious about it, and I don't think it's serious to say let's see Lincoln Kindholes.
No.
I also don't think it's serious to go no, he's fine, because we've got stat watchers emailing us.
And I don't think
look at his numbers.
And I don't think I would say that because on this podcast I've talked numerous times about how he's been late on reads, how he holds on to the ball too long, how he just lasers down his receivers. There are two final things on this, and then we can move forward with talking about their upcoming game against Rutgers, or you can share your thoughts on Wisconsin. I will say overall, if you're going to have a bad, ugly game like that, I'm grateful that it was against a down Wisconsin team, because if you're playing Penn State like that, you're losing that game by double digits. You're playing Notre Dame like that, you're losing by double digits. You play Michigan like that, sweet Jesus Lord, just come back now. It's not going to be good. Here's the other thing that this guy said that is just a dumb argument if you're going to make it. He said, well, if you take Marvin Harrison out of the picture, McCord is trash. Sir, if I have the best wide receiver in college football on my team, I would be more mad if he wasn't throwing to him. I just don't understand that logic. You just can't.
I get what he's saying, though, because
you can say that about anybody.
Right, but I think here's what I think he's probably trying to say, because I would agree. Let me put it this way. I agree with this sentiment. Thank God Marvin Harrison is on the team.
Yeah, you say that. Thank the Lord you guys have Blake Corum and Roman Wilson and Colston Loveland.
There's so many plays, and I think this more comes into play if you're stat watching, where you go, oh, he was 17 of 26 for 2 touchdowns. Yeah, those are Marvin Harrison touchdowns. That's not because,
but that's fine.
No, but I'm saying, the spectacular catch from Harrison in the end zone. Yeah. That's a bad ball for McCord. But thank God Marvin Harrison's there because he can bring that in. Harrison makes McCord look better than he is, and I think that's the point. And I don't think that's debatable. I don't think it's debatable,
but I still think it's a garbage argument.
I don't think it's debatable, but I'm going to debate you.
If I have the best wide receiver in college football, I'm throwing it to him 20 times a game, no questions asked.
Here's what encouraged me as a Michigan fan beyond Kyle McCord, because I'm not a believer in that. This is now 4 games Ohio State has been held under 25 points. Yeah. Now, you can make the argument, well, they've gotten the job done. They have. They've passed the test. But I'm looking at this from a Michigan perspective going, okay, 4 games under 25 points. One of them was Notre Dame. And you can say that they're a great defense, but they gave up 33 points to Louisville. The other was Penn State, who just gave up 24 to Indiana. Yikes. And then Indiana and Wisconsin. All those teams held Ohio State under 25 points. And if I'm looking at this from, hey, we play Michigan in 4 weeks, I'm looking at this. I'm feeling pretty good about that. I'm feeling pretty good about Michigan's defense and being able to hold that team, because Michigan is the team that can punch you on both sides of the ball. Georgia is the team that can punch you on both sides of the ball. So when we talk about playing Michigan or playing Georgia or getting in the playoff, I have a really hard time. And the fan was talking about this today. I thought it was a good point. Does what you saw on Saturday encourage you looking ahead to playing Michigan? I don't know how the answer could be yes.
Yeah, I think it's a genuine concern. It's really my only concern right now for the Buckeyes.
At this point, is it going to be fixed in 3 weeks? I don't think it can.
The issue is not being able to capitalize on drives. I feel like they have the yardage. They had over 400-something yards of total offense this past weekend. They were getting there consistently, but you had 2 turnovers by Kyle McCord. You just weren't getting it done. You had the same thing happen against Penn State. He missed a couple throws. Maryland, he missed a couple throws. You're leaving points on the board. It's not
goal to go and can't get in.
It's not like you're going out there, and same thing happened at Notre Dame. It's not like you're getting stopped 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. You're just not moving the ball. You're moving the ball. You're getting down there. You're just not finishing. Yeah. And that's the thing.
And that's the execution piece that, like, you don't get points for driving 40 yards.
Yeah, I don't care if you have 600 yards total offense if you give me 20 points. You should be the amount of points they've left on the board. That is a genuine concern. And I think I even texted you this weekend that's not going to get it done against playoff caliber teams. Yeah. You can do that. You got lucky that you had a home game against Penn State, because I think the crowd really helped. The defense was energized. I genuinely think that game's on the road. It's a different story. You got lucky that Wisconsin was in a
whoa. Okay. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I just got an alert.
This is either going to be true or very sarcastic.
Kyle McCord just threw another interception.
Stop
that is wild.
Cut the podcast. We're done here.
I don't know that the road
I just assumed it was Connor Stallions texting you what game you were going to go to this weekend.
He's going to. He's Venmoing me right now.
Chase Evans. Under his own name. I'm watching that account.
So I don't know that the road gets easier for Ohio State. It should. They've got Rutgers this week. What do you make?
Well, that hurts. That hurts a little bit.
What do you make of the game against Rutgers?
This is my least favorite time of the year outside of the Michigan game, because
this is my okay. I was going to.
I don't want you to touch this today.
Can I have the Mike
you can't touch any of it. Okay. No, not after what you just said to me. Right. Rutgers, man. Yeah, this is my least favorite time of the year. My two teams got to face off against each other. I liked it much better when Rutgers was in the Big East, tearing down on West Virginia and Syracuse all the time.
Like, obviously, Ohio State's favored heavily in this game.
Yeah, they're 18. I saw 18.5 point, I think.
Let me ask it this way. What is one thing that would have to happen for Rutgers to win this game?
Turnovers. I genuinely do think, I don't know if the offense for Rutgers is there yet.
It's not.
I am interested a little bit to see kind of the mobile quarterback with Gavin Wimsatt and how our defense handles that. The passing game for Rutgers is just not there. So I think Ohio State's defense is just going to have a field day because they know exactly what they need to zone in on. They're going to have a quarterback spy on Wimsatt the whole game. They're not really worried. They're going to be in man coverage probably a majority of the game. They're going to send people blitz packages all over the place. They're going to try and go after and make him uncomfortable.
And I would add in there, in addition to turnovers, Kyle Mononga is going to have himself a day.
And that's the other thing.
Is it Kyle? Kevin?
Kyle Mononga, number 5.
Sure.
One of the league leading.
I hate that I know players on Rutgers.
One of the league leading rushers in the NCAA right now. So Kyle Mononga, Gavin Wimsatt, I'm interested to see how they're going to utilize that. I do think Rutgers' defense is legit. I think they're not elite, but they are. No. They're better than people are giving them credit for. So I am curious.
They have a good defense.
They have a chance to call the way that McCord played last week. Rutgers has a better offense than what you saw out of Wisconsin, especially when they were missing Braylon Allen.
Well, and also like Tanner Mordecai also with a broken
But
hand.
I would say Gavin Wimsatt is probably better than Tanner Mordecai right now.
This year, I think so, which is not saying much.
So I think, if you go into Rutgers, that crowd's going to be energized and ready because it's Ohio State.
Yeah, you better pay attention.
So you have a couple of turnovers. I don't know. I still don't think it's going to happen.
Give me a score.
What did I end up saying my score was going to be here? I have
because I don't disagree with your analysis.
I have Ohio State 31, Rutgers 7. I think Rutgers can pull out a touchdown, but I think just the way their offense is, I don't think Ohio State's going to view their receivers as a threat. You got Christian Dremel, who's been kind of a bright spot for the Rutgers offense, but they're going to shut down Kyle McCord, and they're just going to key in on any quarterback runs with Gavin Wimsatt. And I think the defense is too good for how bad Rutgers offense has been.
Yeah, I'm mostly curious to see what Rutgers defense does with Ohio State's offense, because I think they're probably comparable to Wisconsin. I agree that the offense might be a little bit better, but again, especially this as we are into November, I'm looking at this from what does a good, not great defense do with this offense? Because with Michigan has a great defense.
Well, I'll be curious for Ohio State.
If they hold Ohio State to, I'd say, under 30, I walk away feeling real good.
And I don't know if I see that. I think there's going to be too many 3 and outs for Rutgers to keep this. I think eventually they're going to
have to play time of possession.
Yeah, I think they're eventually going to get too worn down. I am curious though with Ohio State. You've got Henderson back. He made a weird comment. I don't know if you caught this in the post game where he said he took a cheap shot at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I want to know what that.
I want to know what that was about. There was tons of speculation going around.
Tweet at us. I
want to see how he ends up doing against this Rutgers team, and I want to see Ibuka get out there again because he didn't play at all against Wisconsin. And another weird thing that hurt me deep personally: Cade Stover 0 targets the entire game.
0 targets. Yikes.
Ryan Day, how dare you?
Is G Scott the new tight end one?
I will.
I don't disagree with your analysis here. I have a little bit more faith in the Rutgers defense because I don't have a lot of faith in Ohio State's offense right now. 27-10.
Okay.
I think
we're close.
I think it's Ohio State in control. It might be a little uncomfortable at times. End of the day, it's not all that close, but I think a 27-10 game, if you're Ohio State, you're probably pretty frustrated by that. And I see it similar to the Wisconsin game where it's like, we won, but I don't feel very happy about how that went down.
Yeah, to me, it just depends on...
Michigan, by the way, won that game by like 40.
It just depends when they get in the red zone what they end up getting. If they're settling for field goals, if they're not able to convert, then I'll be frustrated. I don't know. I just don't see it being close. Rutgers is still a good team. I wouldn't let the score of this or the Michigan game.
Can you imagine for a second?
I hate it every single year.
Not a sponsor, but you could be home field apparel. I would buy so much Rutgers stuff.
I have all of it.
I would buy so much.
I have every single bit of it. No, absolutely not. The last thing about this Rutgers game, we are going to have some Rutgers bonus episode stuff to kind of commemorate this special week. Coming out later, I've got an interview with a special guest coming up on Thursday, so make sure you stay tuned for that as well. That's going to probably come out Friday at some point.
So make sure you're following on social media, YouTube, all that good stuff at Rival Pod. Also want to make sure that you have an opportunity to become a Patreon subscriber. That's a huge way that we pay for stuff. It gives us...
He pays for his home field apparel Rutgers
It really does. But it helps us say yes to more opportunities. We got Big Ten Championship, college football playoffs coming up, the chance to be able to just create better content, create more content, buy t-shirts, buy stickers, all that stuff. That helps us do that. So consider becoming a Patreon subscriber today. We do have merch. We've got stickers. There's exclusive content.
We still have the deal going on right now. Where's $1? Just $1 a month.
You know what? Why not? Why not? We'll keep it going.
For the rest of this week, we'll figure it out.
Okay, sure.
$1 a month. You can Venmo us at Connor. You can Venmo us at Rival Pod, and you actually will get a t-shirt when you do that. So that's a fun thing.
Also want to say a big thanks to our friends at Elevated Integrity Construction. Aaron Carroll and his team do phenomenal work. There's no guesswork because you can't have that in a project. Listen, it's late November. There's no margin for error right now.
No, it's going to be too cold.
They're going to take the guesswork out of it for you. elevatedintegrity.com. Grateful for their support of the podcast. Lord have mercy. Michigan plays Purdue this week.
About time.
How
are they in the news more in a bye week than Michigan State?
Here's what we'll say. So we record these podcasts on Monday morning.
Yeah.
We're not going to touch the Michigan sign thing.
Is it because the last time?
I don't know if you've ever recorded a full podcast episode about how there's no public information about the Michigan sign stealing, whatever. And then like an hour later, there's a lot of public information about the Michigan thing. Can we just take 5
seconds to talk about how Jace was on the podcast last week, just going to town about how going after the Athletic and saying how there was no proof. And then I get a text in all caps. Remember when you recorded an entire episode episode saying that everything is fake, and then it turns out it wasn't. And then later that week, we're having another conversation where you're like, oh man, yeah, it just seems like he was a rogue guy, blah, blah, which hasn't been disproven.
That's still very,
but
see, I can't even say that's still on the table because at the time,
you better be careful because we had like 7 reels that we couldn't use last week because you were just spewing garbage.
Into the core of the sun.
Yes.
Okay?
Oh, it was phenomenal. Jace was the absolute.
Me to see King Jesus. I'm done.
He was the absolute jinx. I loved it.
So here's the deal. So we're not gonna talk about. If you're like, why aren't they talking about? Because there's a we record Monday morning. Harbaugh's press conference is in like an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing that this week. Okay?
Literally the only thing we know is literally nothing. Okay. So
you know more than we do, probably. That might not be true. Right now, I'll say this. Right now, my big questions are who knew and who paid. Those are the things that now, Monday morning, first name bunch of numbers on YouTube.
I've seen a lot of...
Right now, we don't know that.
I've seen a lot of speculation or a lot of tweets regarding this, but I don't know
anything else.
I don't know if I've seen anything legit.
I ain't saying anything else.
Is it from a reliable source? Have you seen that they rescinded, and this doesn't mean anything, but that they rescinded the contract offer, put it on hold temporarily with Harbaugh?
So again, this may come to light by the end of this sentence, but yeah, I've seen people talk about it's been rescinded. The people that, I'll put it this way, the people that I trust to be in the know, folks like John Bacon, really a fantastic writer and journalist, he has said, his sources say, it's more like put on hold than rescinded because those do make a difference.
I just wanted you to speak on it so that it could become the opposite.
Is, hey, I know I offered you this. I don't think so. It's very different from, hey, until this blows over, we're going to hold on.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what I tend to believe. The people that I tend to trust as being pretty unbiased, matter-of-fact people don't seem to be concerned. So until there's a reason I won't.
It's what you expect them to do. It's the same thing when they put Connor on paid leave. That's just normal. You're not going to extend a guy.
Back to the actual football field. I don't know if you're aware of this, but Purdue is a terrible football team. Purdue is very, very bad. And for Michigan, whatever your opinion is about what's swirling around them, the players, and let's just talk about the players. The players have something to prove. Okay. They hear the noise. Obviously, they're trying to block it out. They're trying to focus. These are also 18 to 22-year-olds. Okay, like they hear it.
Yeah, they're on social media. People are tweeting at them all the time.
And that's something that unless you've played at that level, like I have no idea what that's like to have that kind of pressure. But I can tell you this, and it looked like this against Michigan State too. These kids are locked in. They've got one goal. The goal is to beat Ohio State, make the Big Ten championship, win the national title. That's what they're focused on. So heaven help Purdue, who gets Michigan coming out of a
night game, right?
Tumultuous bye week. They get to go into Ann Arbor at night. I don't even know how to. Hudson Card is okay. Maccabee is a talented running back. The numbers haven't been there, but he's very talented. 56-3. Like I don't know how to break that game down any more than. Michigan on every side of the ball.
What did you say the final was?
56-3.
Okay.
What do you have?
Mine is not like that, but it's not close.
Yeah.
Purdue, bring a blanket and a pillow because you're getting put to sleep. They're gonna put you to bed at night in Ann Arbor. Michigan 38, Purdue 3. I don't think it'll be as high scoring because
that's fine. It will not be.
No, it will not be
close.
Nobody there will have a fun time watching that game because
I disagree. They will.
It'll be so boring by the end of the first quarter when it's 21-0 and you're like, okay, well,
like I don't see any way. Like, with Wisconsin or Rutgers, you could say, well, turnovers could keep them in the game.
No.
Even that doesn't help Purdue here.
No.
Like, they're not a good team.
Michigan could go out and have the sloppier game than Bowling Green. Ain't going to matter.
One of the things that does matter, though, for Michigan is Michigan's entering the November slate of games, which all year it's been look ahead to November and kind of this murderer's row of, and again, preseason at least, Purdue did win the Big Ten West last year. So they were kind of looking at that going, okay, we'll see what happens there. But then at Penn State, at Maryland, obviously Ohio State at the end of the year.
And that's when things really get interesting.
And I'll tell you right now, will I still be scared out of my mind? You better believe it. But from this
Maryland
past Saturday,
a little less.
From this past Saturday, though, if I'm Michigan, I'm looking at this slate going, well, Purdue should not be a threat. Penn State obviously got beat by Ohio State in a low-scoring game. I've watched Drew Aller play enough to go,
he's butt.
Yeah, I don't know. And also 31-point favorites and barely squeaked past Indiana at home. I mean, that's not good. That's not good. That team looks broken.
I think it goes the same way for Ohio State as well. Both teams, towards the end of their schedule, it seems like pretty smooth sailing. Penn State for you guys is a little tougher because it is an away game, but it's not at night.
But the way they played it,
they haven't been impressive.
Ohio State, Drew Aller over the season has not looked good, and I just don't know how you squeak past Indiana at home.
Michigan is more talented than Penn State. I think the home environment does change things a little bit.
It does,
but I think you guys are still going to win out till the Ohio State game.
I feel far more confident now than I did a week or especially 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 100%.
Maryland, I don't know what's going on with Maryland. But
didn't they just lose to Nebraska, was it?
No, they lost Northwestern.
Northwestern, you're right.
Which there's just no excuse for that.
No, garbage. Which gives my boys from Piscataway a little hope. We still got them on the schedule.
Is Talia still dangerous? Of course he is. But also...
to himself, but...
God bless the folks at MGO Blog. They had a phrase that I thought sums it up perfectly. They said, Talia giveth and Talia taketh away. And that's basically how Maryland
you just
operates.
never know. It's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
And then Ohio State is always going to be daunting. But again, if I'm looking at it going, man, the way they played Wisconsin,
it's
not impressive.
It's looking like another undefeated matchup because, like you said, you guys have Purdue, then you have Penn State, Maryland before the game. Ohio State has Rutgers, whatever you want to call Michigan State, not a football team. And then
I will enjoy that game.
And then
here's
I'm going to be there.
Here's the difficult piece of that. Here's the difficult piece of that for me is I'm going to have to cheer for Michigan State in that game. And
you don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
I hate it so much. But I would love nothing more than for it just to be an ugly football game all around.
We'll get to that. That whole stadium would have to implode in order for that to happen. And then you finish the year off with Minnesota. So it's looking to me, unless something drastic happens.
Off with Minnesota.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you have Rutgers, Michigan State, Minnesota. Yeah. That should be both teams, Michigan and Ohio State, should go into that late November game.
There's a good chance, man.
It's looking more and more like it.
If we get approved as media for that game, are you coming or no?
I will be sick to my stomach. I can't do that. So I will sit at home under a nice blanket.
Good.
And enjoy my time.
Love that. So we got Michigan, Ohio State, both likely winning this week. As we wrap up here, college football playoff rankings.
Mm-hmm.
They come out, again, we're recording Monday morning. The rankings come out on Tuesday night. First college football playoff rankings. So if you're listening to this after that, you already know what this looks like.
Yeah.
So I'm not talking about trying to predict what it will look like. Give me your top four and your first two out.
Okay. I won't change the order of these because I think it's just
top four, first two out. Not what you expect it to be, but what you think it should be.
I have Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State as my four.
And first two out?
First two out, I believe, will be Washington and Texas.
Okay. We're not far off.
I think that's it for me.
I have Michigan at the top. I think Michigan's a bit more complete than Georgia. Michigan, Georgia, Ohio State, Florida State. I want to keep dropping Florida State.
Same.
But they're playing good football right now. And then I've got Washington, Oregon at 5 and 6.
I wouldn't be upset with that.
Now, what I expect to see is probably some version of Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Washington.
I genuinely think
what I assume it's probably going to be.
I think the other teams are going to beat up on each other. I think the other teams are going to beat up on each other too much, and I think Ohio State and Michigan are going to have one of them will have a loss. Yes. But I think if you're looking in the long run, like if you have 3 undefeateds and you're looking at a one-loss team to bring in, I still think either Michigan or Ohio State will go in because your one loss will come against an Ohio State team that has a resume that they have.
Sure.
Or you're Ohio State, and on the other end, you have the resume that you have, but your only loss of the season is against Michigan. And so I think the other teams are going to beat up on each other too much.
It depends, though. Like, it depends on what Penn State does the rest of the year. It depends on if Washington somehow gets through unscathed. What happens to Florida State? There are scenarios where the loser of Ohio State, Michigan, once again, much like last year, gets in the playoff. But there's also some scenarios where a one-loss team, whether it's Michigan or Ohio State, the loser of that game, there's scenarios where they don't get in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of that's contingent on Florida State and Washington just running the table, which is not out of the question.
No, Florida State has a relatively easy end of schedule.
Yeah, Washington's got to play USC.
Which Michael Penix is going to light that defense.
But I'm also very curious because Washington's looked so shaky. So I think that'll be a fun football game. I'll put that. I'm glad that one is at night along with Michigan Purdue, so I can flip over to something enjoyable while I'm watching that.
That's fair.
Final thing we gotta get to is Stupid Genius upset picks of the week.
Dang it!
We do this every week. You get as a reminder, the spread must be 4.5 points. You must pick the underdog. 5 points for getting the upset pick correct, plus whatever the spread was. The score is now 56.5.
We don't need to say it out loud.
Nothing.
We don't have to say it out loud.
Kansas, Oklahoma, thank you very much.
Stupid.
Rock, chalk, Jayhawk, baby. 56.5 to nothing. If you would like to participate in this, you are welcome
We've been trying.
I'll give you, again, the first chance.
No, this is dumb. Because
are you just reaching at this point?
I have to. I've got to throw 4 verts all day. It's got.
This is why you have nothing.
I looked, and honestly... it's not like it's helped me, but normally when I look at the schedule for the next week, there's a game that I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And maybe that's been my issue. Because this week I looked at it and nothing stood out to me as like, this is a genuine, I feel it in my heart.
Maybe so this is good. Maybe you need to get away from listening.
I got to close my eyes and I just have to swing for the fences. It's Missouri over Georgia. They're like 16.5 point underdogs.
This is why you have nothing.
It's the only way that I'm going to get back into it. I can't take the 3 point or 4 point underdog.
We've got a lot of football left, man.
Not enough to overcome a 56 half point deficit.
If you keep picking Missouri over Georgia,
look, you know what my issue has been, and this is the only time I'll spread hate to them. This is the only time I'll spread some hate to them. Colorado has failed me twice this season on Stupid Genius picks, and Lord knows I wanted to give them another chance this weekend.
Who do they play this week?
Oh man, I forget who it even was.
It doesn't matter. They're going to lose.
I know.
Here's a more reasonable pick, which is why it's 56.5 to nothing. Give me Oklahoma State over Oklahoma. 6 point dogs.
Okay.
I lived in Stillwater for a couple years. I've told this story before. I won't rehash it, but I had a chance to see Oklahoma State play Texas. And my wife said, hey, we made plans with Smiths that night. And I'm still not over it.
You shouldn't be.
I'm still upset that I didn't get to go see a game.
How dare you, honestly.
I'm really upset about that. But Oklahoma, the loss to Kansas, they're still ranked in the top 10, but give me Oklahoma State. Bedlam's a big deal. I don't know if people realize this, like outside of the state of Oklahoma, Bedlam is a huge deal. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, it is insane. It's wild. And this game being, I believe it's in Stillwater.
It is.
Stillwater is wild on game day. Oh, that town is the most boring town in America.
Well, it's Oklahoma.
Until game day. And the traffic's terrible because they don't know how to funnel it in. It's spectacular. Avoid Food Pyramid on Saturday. Okay, just Food Pyramid off.
Well,
off
anything called Food Pyramid, I just think is a smart choice.
Food Pyramid or Food Lion.
Is it the same as Pizza Tarp or whatever?
I've blocked out a lot of my life in Oklahoma to move on to greener pastures. But yeah, give me Oklahoma State over OU. Ollie Gordon has 1,000+ yards, 10 touchdowns as a running back. Pistols firing.
I hope something happens and I end up beating you in Stupid Genius. We don't have anything that happens to the loser anyways that we decided.
We could decide that right now.
No, not when you have a 56.5 point lead.
On Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it, social media, including YouTube, @RivalPod. Be sure to share with a friend and subscribe. Thanks for listening and consider becoming a Patreon subscriber as well. I forgot to mention.
I thought you were going to throw that at me.
I thought about it.
I was getting ready to call Scott, our HR.
Thanks to the J Company for sponsoring my 56.5 point lead over JP and Stupid Genius. Fall in love with your home all over again at thejaecompany.com.
The Rivalry is a production of River Radio Ministries. Want live updates from the show? Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube @RivalPod. Visit our Patreon and consider becoming a patron for exclusive bonus content, merch, and more. And be sure to follow us wherever you're listening now for new episodes every Tuesday. And if you like what you're hearing, tell a friend so they can listen too.